Being alone and feeling lonely aren't the same thing. You can feel completely isolated in a crowd of strangers or deeply connected while sitting quietly in your own room. Aloneness is a physical state. Loneliness is an emotional one, and the difference between the two comes down to something simple but powerful: the quality of the relationship you have with yourself. So today, let's explore the art of being alone without feeling lonely. Part 1. Why we fear being alone. Loneliness has become one of the great fears of modern life. Think about the way we talk about it. She ended up alone. He died all by himself. It's treated almost like failure, as if a life without constant company is automatically a life wasted. And yet, here's the irony. Our world has never been more connected. Billions of people are only one tap away. But studies show loneliness is at record highs. Why? Because what people really fear isn't aloneness. It's facing themselves without distraction. When the noise fades, when the phone is set aside, when there's nothing left to scroll through, many are forced to confront their own insecurities, regrets, and unanswered questions. And that confrontation can feel unbearable. So instead of learning how to sit with it, we keep running. Running into relationships we don't even want, running into endless entertainment, running into the comfort of noise, but silence always catches up. Part 2. Solitude versus loneliness. Here's where the distinction matters. Loneliness and solitude both describe being apart from others, but they're opposites in how they feel. Loneliness is emptiness, the absence of connection, the echo of something's missing. Solitude is fullness, the presence of self, the recognition that nothing is missing. The same empty room can feel like a prison or a sanctuary. The difference isn't in the walls, it's in the mindset. This is why some people panic when left alone, while others thrive. It's not about whether people are around. It's about whether you can trust yourself to be enough company. Part 3. Why solitude is a superpower. When embraced, solitude isn't a curse. It's a superpower. Think about the figures who shaped history, philosophy, and art. So many of them turned to solitude as fuel. Marcus Aurelius, reflecting in his tent between battles. Virginia Woolf, who wrote about the necessity of a room of one's own. Nikola Tesla, who claimed solitude sharpened the mind. Even Thoreau, retreating to Walden Pond not to escape society, but to understand it better. They all knew something crucial, that creativity, wisdom, and self-mastery don't bloom in the noise, they bloom in the quiet. And here's the paradox. Those who master solitude become more powerful in society because they are less needy, less desperate, and more whole. Part 4. Why loneliness hurts so much. Still, it's important to be honest. Loneliness hurts. It's not just an emotion, it's biological. The human brain is wired for connection. When it's missing, our nervous system interprets it as danger. The body floods with stress hormones, sleep worsens, immunity weakens. That's why loneliness can feel like physical pain in the chest or a heavy fog that slows you down. But here's the trap. When we fear loneliness, we often accept shallow substitutes just to avoid the ache. We surround ourselves with people who drain us, fill our days with constant chatter, or numb ourselves with distractions. And yet, when the noise fades, the emptiness is still there. Because what we're really longing for isn't just company, it's connection, both with others and with ourselves. Part 5. The Modern Loneliness Paradox. Look around. Society tells us that being constantly busy, constantly social, constantly on is the ideal. But this obsession with connection at all costs creates more loneliness, not less. Why? Because shallow interaction is not the same as meaningful connection. 100 casual friends on social media won't ease the emptiness in the way one genuine conversation can. And filling every spare moment with activity doesn't replace the peace of being comfortable in your own silence. In other words, we're overfed with noise and starving for depth. Part 6. How to practice the art of being alone. So, how do we transform time alone into something that nourishes instead of depletes? Here are 6 practices to master the art of solitude. 1. Redefine the story. Stop treating alone time as proof of rejection. Instead of, I'm alone because nobody wants me, reframe it as, I'm alone because I'm choosing to invest in myself. A shift in narrative creates a shift in experience. 2. Create sacred rituals. Aloneness becomes powerful when paired with intentional practices. Journaling, meditation, painting, long walks, or simply making tea slowly and mindfully. These turn empty silence into a sacred space. 3. Curate your inner voice. The voice in your head is your lifelong roommate. If that voice is cruel, solitude becomes a nightmare. If it's kind and wise, solitude becomes a retreat. Practicing self-compassion is not cheesy self-help. It's survival. 4. Make solitude creative. The easiest way to make time alone meaningful is to create before you consume. Write before you read. Sketch before you scroll. Produce before you distract. When solitude births creation, it becomes empowering. 5. Balance. Don't abandon. Solitude isn't isolation. You're not meant to avoid people forever. The point is to strike balance, to weave meaningful connections with others while still preserving space for yourself. 6. Face the silence. At some point, you'll notice silence bringing up discomfort, memories, regrets, insecurities. Instead of running, sit with it. This is where growth begins, in turning toward the discomfort instead of away. Part 7. The hidden gift of solitude. Here's the secret. When you're no longer afraid of being alone, your relationships improve. You stop clinging to people out of fear. You stop tolerating toxic connections just to avoid emptiness. You enter friendships and love not out of need, but out of choice. And this shift is life-changing, because suddenly love is no longer about filling a void. It becomes about sharing abundance. When solitude makes you whole, you don't demand wholeness from others. You simply share it with them. Part 8. Practical Reflection Exercise. Here's something you can try right now. Tonight, instead of reaching for your phone, set aside 10 minutes. Sit in silence with a notebook. Ask yourself 3 questions. What am I avoiding by staying distracted? What would I do differently if I trusted myself completely? What's one thing I can do alone that would make me proud? Write without judgment. Don't censor. Don't polish. This exercise is not about the answers. It's about making solitude a conversation instead of a void. Do this regularly, and solitude will start to feel less like emptiness and more like dialogue with your deeper self. Part 9. Closing Reflection. The art of being alone without feeling lonely comes down to one truth. Loneliness is when you forget who you are without others. Solitude is when you remember. Being alone doesn't mean you've failed. It doesn't mean you're unworthy. It means you've been given the rare opportunity to meet the one person who will walk with you from birth until death yourself. So, the next time silence greets you, don't run from it. Welcome it. Learn from it. Because solitude, when embraced, is not the absence of connection. It's the foundation of it. If this message resonated with you, like the video, share it to other people who need it, and subscribe to the Old Soul's Guide. Until next time, take care and embrace the quiet.